Want to patent your invention? The chance is near. You've given it heart. Now get it in gear. It's Passage to Profit with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart.
This is Richard Gearhart.
And Elizabeth Gearhart.
On Passage to Profit. Welcome to our show. Passage to Profit is a new show on iHeartRadio that speaks to entrepreneurs and those wanting to start their own business.
That's right, Richard. We're on WOR 710. And to start each show, we'll interview a guest from the entrepreneurial community.
You mean a successful entrepreneur with tips for our listeners. This is about starting your own business, after all.
Oh, well, yeah, you got me there. Okay. After that, we'll feature up to 3 contestants per week in a pitch competition.
And who are these lucky contestants and how do they get on the show?
I am so glad you asked me that. That's my favorite thing about this show. This show is open to everybody. Anyone can pitch. You don't have to be a superstar. You don't have to know anybody. Just come to our pitch auditions in New York, pitch your idea to us, and if it fits with the show and we think it's a good pitch presentation, then boom, you're on the air. So, Richard, there's also a contest. Do you want to talk about that now?
Absolutely. The pitches come from you, our listeners, and after the pitches, you, our listeners, can Google Passage to Profit and find the page on GearhartLaw.com and vote for your favorite pitch. You can vote for a week, but you only get to vote once.
Get your friends to listen and vote. If they miss the show, they can listen to the podcast on iHeartMedia, and they can tell how wonderful you are just from that. So tell them to remember the name by envisioning you, or themselves if they want to invent something and come on the show, walking down a long passageway with a huge pot of gold at the end, their passage to profit.
James Ledbetter, editor-in-chief of Inc. magazine, will be joining us, and you're listening to Passage to Profit on iHeartRadio, 710 on your AM dial.
There's never been a better time to start your own business. The opportunities are infinite and only limited by your imagination and enthusiasm. At Gearhart Law, we believe the most successful companies all have one thing in common. They start with a solid foundation first. Gearhart Law has years of experience protecting entrepreneurs' ideas and brands using patent, trademark, and copyright protection. So if you have a new consumer product, a new software application that you're planning to build or sell, or a brand or company name that you want to protect, contact the experts at www.gearhartlaw.com. Our professionals will create a custom strategy designed to fit your needs and your budget. All of our attorneys are passionate about protection, licensed and qualified to represent you before the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Don't start your project without calling us first. Visit GearhartLaw.com. Together, we can change the world. Visit GearhartLaw.com. This ad has been read by a non-attorney spokesperson.
Now back to Passage to Profit. Once again, Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart.
We're here with James Ledbetter, editor of Inc. magazine.
Glad to be here, Richard.
Inc. magazine is a great source of information for entrepreneurs, and it features in-depth articles of entrepreneurs who've made it and lots of great advice for those who are on their way. Inc. magazine also publishes the list of the most successful entrepreneurs with the Inc. 5000, which features the fastest growing companies. James is a graduate of Yale University and has worked at Time, Reuters, The Village Voice, and many other publications. He's also the author of several books, the most recent, One Nation Under Gold.
Correct.
I love that title.
Thank you.
And don't forget about his podcast, which you can find on Inc.com.
It's called Inc. Uncensored.
Inc. Uncensored. So great to have you with us. I mean, you've interviewed a lot of successful entrepreneurs. We'd love it if you could tell us some of your favorite stories.
Sure. And I should note, the Inc. 5000 for the last 2 years has featured none other than Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart. The Gearhart Law Firm is one of the fastest growing companies in America, which is really very exciting.
Can I just say something about that, though? I mean, I have to say, honestly, for years before we hit that mark, that was like a major goal of mine. It really, really was. And it motivated me so much because I so much wanted to be on that list. So it's not just it's a very valuable kind of thing. It gives entrepreneurs a goal to shoot for.
It's a club.
Yeah.
It's like getting into an exclusive club, except you earn it, and you can't buy your way onto it. I mean, we're actually in the process right now of finalizing the list for 2018, and I guess I should be impressed and not depressed by the fact that there are people who will lie you know, and to get on the list. They will fudge the numbers. We got one company that submitted a tax return that was so obviously not the tax return that they filed with the IRS. It wasn't even signed. It's like, you're not even trying to cover your tracks. And it's but it is a great honor for a lot of folks. And some of the most impressive people that I've been privileged to meet are people who've made the list like 10 times.
Yeah, it's amazing.
If you think about what kind of breakneck growth that implies to be hitting high double-digit growth every year for 10 years is a remarkable achievement. There are only a few dozen companies that have been able to pull that off. But I'll tell you a couple of my favorite stories. We had a cover story in June 2014 with a company that my boss actually said to me, there is no way we are going to put a company called Lolly Wally Doodle on the cover of Inc. magazine. And the Brandy Temple is her name, out of Tennessee, and she began sewing clothes for her daughters when her second husband, was out of work during the Great Recession. He worked construction business dried up. She started making these clothes in her garage to fit her daughters. Pretty simple stuff. And then she began selling them through her church to people who would, give her orders and what have you. And she experimented with some Chinese outsourcing of the garments, but it didn't meet her specifications. So then she's got these kind of, I don't know, like seconds, right? That can't really sell. And she decides to set up a page on Facebook. And she walks away from the computer, and it sold out like that. And she managed, kind of by accident, to figure out how to use Facebook to do direct selling. This is something that the largest corporations in America still can't wrap their head around. Yeah. In fact, have spent millions of dollars trying to do and just pull out because it doesn't work. But something about the authenticity of her project and her just perseverance, she kind of cracked the code for how to do direct sales on Facebook, and it was just a terrific story. And we were, when I told my boss, you said we'd never put her on the cover, he said, I've never been happier to eat my words, because she was such a dynamic. She said, all I ever wanted from life was to be a trophy wife. That's what I envisioned. That's what I envisioned for myself. I didn't picture myself running a multi-million-dollar business, but that's what she does. And in the meantime, this tiny little town in Tennessee where she's from was a factory town that had fallen on tough times, and now she's the largest employer in the town. She employs hundreds of people.
That is so wonderful. I have to say that I personally, I never really thought of myself as an entrepreneur.
Are you a trophy wife too?
Yes, he is.
Whoa. I'll take that as a compliment.
Sure.
So no, I mean, but it's so we started our law firm after leaving the corporate world, and I never really expected that. And it actually worked out pretty well for us, didn't it, dear? So.
It did. And I'd just like to make a comment. So the law firm does patents, trademarks, and copyrights. And to your point, this is exactly something we experience almost every day. Somebody comes in with a project, and we never judge because we never know what's going to take off. And you may find the weirdest looking thing that somebody walks in with, and they get a patent on it or they get a trademark on their business, and the next year they've sold 2 million of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at fidget spinners last year.
Yeah, really. Where did that come from?
Who saw that coming? And it's gone now. I mean, it's a very short window. But my son now plays with something called Beyblades that are kind of like spinning tops. Like, there are millions of these things being sold every year.
Yeah, if we could predict what projects would hit with certainty, we'd all be billionaires, right? I mean, so, you never really know how it's going to work out. So,
well, our job at Inc. is to support people on their journey. We certainly don't judge. I mean, obviously, if people breaking the law, that's one thing. but we don't.
You mean like fake applications?
Yeah. Well, there are gray areas. But our job is to support them by giving them practical advice. How do you manage your staff? What do you do about taking investment? What about benefits, et cetera, but also inspiration.
So, Jim, what do you think are the biggest hurdles to starting a successful business?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think a lot of people think that the biggest hurdle is lack of financing. Like, I don't know any rich people. I don't know where to get money from. Who's going to give me a loan, et cetera, et cetera. I actually don't think that's the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem is is kind of taking that first step. That's the biggest hurdle is realizing that the idea that you've been noodling around in the back of your brain for the last 5 years is you're already 3/4 of the way there. You just need to kind of do it. You need to actually start. And for a lot of people, one of the constraints there is they have a day job, right? So one of the tricks that the successful entrepreneurs will tell you is, well, what are you doing with the rest of your time? Are you spending your time watching football? Are you spending your time fishing? Are you spending? You've got to find a way to make the business the center of your life, even while you have that day job, and that transition period for some people could be a matter of months. For some people, it's a matter of years until the side hustle kind of takes off. But I think that kind of actually taking the first step is probably the biggest hurdle. Another hurdle, and I know this sounds silly, but we've done surveys and people will tell you, is that they actually don't have the right idea. So people have ideas for an invention, or everybody wants to run a restaurant, right? But they're not necessarily the right ideas, and that's clearly a hurdle. And then there's financing and execution, but those are kind of second level issues.
So let me ask you a question. If somebody has an idea and they think it's good, and all their friends tell them that it's good, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's good.
Absolutely
right?
not.
So how do they go about getting some real honest feedback?
Sure. So I think one of the lessons that we have learned over the years is it's a great idea to start with a product or a service where you already know 10 people who are going to pay for this, right? You already have a customer base. That is, if someone's looking from the outside for investment, like that's the kind of thing they want to see, that there is a genuine need for this product or service in the marketplace, as opposed to some, kind of great sounding thing, but nobody, no demonstration of anyone actually using it. I think that's a really good metric. But in terms of feedback and advice, I have to say, regardless of what I might think of the current administration, the Small Business Administration is a tremendous resource. The Small Business Administration website has all sorts of resources, lessons, videos. They also work with an organization called SCORE, score.org. Is a mentoring program for entrepreneurs. They will hook you up with somebody who has expertise in your field, and you'll meet with them. There are videos that you can watch. It's tremendous how much is out there, and yet somehow people are like, I don't know where to get advice. Well, that's where you go. That, and also, of course, Inc.com.
Score and Inc. are great resources. So,
well, I was looking at Inc.com at lunch right before we came over here, and there was an incredible article. It was actually a video that I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I'm going to go back and watch it. It was how to make a post go viral. Yeah. So these are the kind of things that are in Inc. magazine and Inc.com. And I've been doing marketing for the firm for a number of years, but I don't think I know how to make something go viral.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to listen to that.
Yeah, I mean, social media has really created a tremendous level playing field for a lot of small businesses. I mean, if you think about the amount of marketing billions that are spent by the largest companies in America, largest companies in the world, how can a one-person shop compete? Well, the answer these days, it wasn't around 20 years ago, is social media. If you are talented and driven enough to create a compelling Instagram account, use Twitter to give loyal readers loyal customers discounts, this sort of thing, you can make up a tremendous amount for very little investment. You don't have to spend that much to have an effective social media presence. And it's remarkable now. A colleague of mine did a story for the New York Times Magazine last fall, in which he said, if you are creating a direct-to-consumer business now and you're not spending almost all of your money on Facebook, you're doing it wrong. Facebook, for better and worse, has become the most efficient marketplace for targeting your customers, reaching them in an environment they already know and trust, and at very low cost compared to any other method you can think of, whether it's direct mail or advertising or sending out coupons, and so that is a great opportunity for today's small businesses, and we at Inc. try to educate people about how to use that to their best ability.
Does the Facebook mantra work for all types of businesses, or is it really mostly to consumer types of businesses?
Yeah, I think it's direct to consumer products. So the firm that he was focusing on in this feature that he wrote was a firm that makes contact lenses, and the ability to A/B test, or in some cases ABC test, different ads on Facebook is just remarkable. And you get feedback like that. It's like literally real-time feedback. You can see, people are clicking on the blue box. No one's clicking on the orange box. Well, get rid of the orange box. You're not going to spend on that anymore. Put all the money on the blue box. And it's 24/7. It's just going on and on. And you're finding, readers that are you can segment at a ridiculously level of a detail. It's not just, women between 18 and 34. It's like women between 18 and 22 who live in Ohio who also we know buy this brand of diaper. Like it's ridiculously targeted, so that you can use that $5, that $10 spend really, really effectively. And again, that really does benefit small businesses. Are there downsides to that in a kind of surveillance society way and lack of privacy? Those are very valid issues. But in terms of people being able to get the most bang for their buck, social media is incredibly effective.
So if I am starting my business and I'm kind of scared to do it because I don't have an MBA from Harvard, how much money should I spend on marketing? I don't have that much money, but I hear marketing is what you have to do.
Yeah, I mean, I there's no one answer to that, of course, but I would also point out that the vast majority of people running Inc. 5000 companies do not have MBAs from Harvard, do not have MBAs at all, and I would also say that our core readers, those Inc. 5000 companies, the plurality of them do not take venture capital. They do not have outside investors. Most of them are bootstrapped, or 45%, something like that, are bootstrapped and require less than $10,000 to get off the ground. Now, of that $10,000, how much should go into marketing? That's going to depend on the nature of your business. But again, the important thing I think is to start, to actually get the product to market, get the service to market, and you can always iterate and grow from there. But I think to go back to Richard's original question, the thing that holds most people back is never getting to that starting line, actually psyching yourself out before you get there. And that's why I think there are millions of potential entrepreneurs out there who haven't started yet.
So that you raised an interesting point about funding, bootstrapping versus investment dollars. So assuming that somebody's in the lucky position to even be asking for investment money, what are the advantages of getting investment money versus bootstrapping,
Sure.
which seems like a much harder way to go?
It's much harder. Yeah. No, I mean, investment is a very, very powerful tool that will allow you to scale your company much faster than if you have to rely just on revenues alone, right? Now, it comes with a lot of pitfalls, caveats, et cetera. You have in order to succeed, you have to really find an investor who shares your vision, who trusts in you. Everything has to be aligned and worked out in advance. There are people out there, I'm sorry to say, who are unscrupulous that you need to vet and avoid. You have to plan for all sorts of contingencies, from the failure of the business to the sudden death of the CEO to all, you have to get everything in writing. You need a lawyer. Sorry to say it, but you do.
Sign up here.
Thanks for the plug.
But the potential is really profound, because you can scale in a way that you just cannot do in any other way.
We're here with James Ledbetter, editor of Inc. magazine. You're listening to WOR, iHeartRadio, 710 on your AM dial. This is Passage to Profit with Richard and Elizabeth Gerhardt. I just have one last question for you, James, and it's really been fantastic listening to you. Thanks for the advice. I've learned a lot myself, so I hope our listeners too. But what do you see as the technical trends for the future? Where do you think are going to be the hottest areas of technology for the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think there is tremendous potential in augmented reality and virtual reality, that we're in the first or second inning on that. That it's going to transform marketplaces. It's going to transform all types of buying experiences. I was talking to a entrepreneur this week who pointed out that there are still some things that you're not likely to buy online. A couch maybe, because you want to sit in it, you want to see how it's going to fit into the room. a virtual reality environment in which you could sit in the couch and kind of feel it will change that dramatically. Similar to certain types of clothes, you can get an avatar that exactly comports to your body shape and then watch how the clothes hang off of it. All of these types of enhanced experiences are coming our way. I think there is some disagreement about this, but I think autonomous vehicles are a real thing. Whether everyone's going to be using one in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, I'm not hung up on the numbers, but I think, within my lifetime, a lot of our encounters with vehicles will be essentially self-driving. I was at the Quebec airport last week, and when you check your bag, it goes on the conveyor belt onto this little card that doesn't have a driver that then goes and takes it somewhere else. It's really cool. And obviously there are certain applications, certain driving situations where you want human control, but there are so many where you don't really need it. So I think those are two really high growth areas that we'll continue to see in the next few years.
That's great. Well, thanks a lot, James.
Thanks, James, and thank God for the self-driving cars, I gotta say. I want one.
Yeah. My pleasure. Thanks for the interview.
Thank you. And we'll be back in just a minute. We'll be starting the pitch segment of our program, and James will stay with us and help us talk with some of the pitchers. So you're listening to WOR, iHeartRadio 710 on your AM dial.
There's never been a better time to start your own business. The opportunities are infinite and only limited by your imagination and enthusiasm. At Gearhart Law, we believe the most successful companies all have one thing in common. They start with a solid foundation first. Gearhart Law has years of experience protecting entrepreneurs' ideas and brands using patent, trademark, and copyright protection. So if you have a new consumer product, a new software application that you're planning to build or sell, or a brand or company name that you want to protect, contact the experts at www.gearhartlaw.com. Our professionals will create a custom strategy designed to fit your needs and your budget. All of our attorneys are passionate about protection, licensed and qualified to represent you before the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Don't start your project without calling us first. Visit gearhartlaw.com. Together, we can change the world. Visit gearhartlaw.com. This ad has been read by a non-attorney spokesperson.
Passage to Profit continues with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart.
And we're here with James Ledbetter. We're going to be talking now to our pitches, and here are the rules for the pitch competition. Each contestant will have a total of 8 minutes to make their pitch. The first 2 minutes, they fly solo, and for that time, they describe their project and put it in the best light. The remaining time is for the Inquisition, where they'll be challenged by Richard, Elizabeth, and James to describe their project in greater detail and convince the audience that their project is the best. At the end of the program, our listeners will be directed to the Passage to Profit page on the Gearhart Law website, where our listeners can vote for the pitch they like the best.
I would like to introduce Raghav Sharma, and Raghav has a company called Perfitly, which was alluded to by James, which is pretty cool to get a plug for your company from editor of Inc. magazine.
I will take it any day.
So why don't you go ahead and do your pitch?
Absolutely. So Perfitly is a tool for online shopping so that a shopper can virtually try on clothes before they buy it. And we really got our roots in my shopping experience, my family's, my friends, where we would order clothes online, where we were guessing on the size. Things would come, we wouldn't like the way it looked, and then we'd send it back. Or even worse, we'd order 2 or 3 of everything, hope one of them worked, and then still send everything back. And we just said, there's got to be a better way. So we started looking into it, and we were just shocked how pervasive this problem was. Almost 3 in 10 garments that are ordered online go back as a return. And in some things...
In my household, I think it's 7 out of 10.
In my household, it's at least 15 out of 10.
And what do you do with all the boxes, by the way? I mean, there's thousands of boxes.
We have kids, they play with them all the time. But we found that 3 in 10 garments were going back, and in some categories, it was even more. And what this meant for consumers is that they were really frustrated, not just with the hassle of returns, but they were hesitant to try out new brands, new types of clothes, new fabrics. And for the retailers, yes, they were getting eaten alive by shipping costs, but a lot of it had to do with what we call waste costs. So things come back torn, ripped, they have deodorant stains, they can't go through a full retail experience anymore, and they just get scrapped or sent through an outlet mall. And so enter Perfitly. What we do is if you're shopping on a site that uses Perfectly, you enter a few measurements, and we're able to create one of those body avatars you were talking about, where with things like your height, your weight, your waist, your shoulders, things that most people know, we're able to create a 3D body shape of you, which is incredibly accurate. And then we work directly with the brands that are selling the clothes to get their fabrics, to get their cut patterns, so how they actually construct the garment, how they sew it. And we sew that garment onto you. And we simulate it using gravity. We simulate it using what the material's made out of, so that then you get to see it on yourself. You can size up, you can size down, and then you can be much more confident in what you're going to buy. And then hopefully you're not going to return it.
What's the revenue model?
We get paid per use. So if you're on, say, here's a shameless plug for one of our brands, Descendant of Thieves, and you're looking at one of their shirts, you try it on, you click try it on, you see it on your avatar, you size up, you size down, you twirl it around and see it from all different sizes or sides, and then you go away for 5 minutes, you come back, you look at it again. We get paid a total of 4 cents for that, no matter how much you look at that shirt. Now, if you come back and look at another shirt, we get another 4 cents. If you look at a pair of pants, we get 4 cents, and so on.
Do you get paid more if they actually buy it?
We don't. Oh. It's a pay-per-use model.
And who are some of the other clients that you're working with?
So right now we're working with 3 small men's boutiques in New York. Descendant of Thieves is the largest one of them. Michael Hands is another. And they are sort of really helping us refine the technology. But we've been there for 6 months.
Okay.
We've been able to double their sales on the products that we've enabled. Their returns are down 13%, and people are using the technology. They're using the widgets and seeing themselves in the clothes 6 minutes on average when they're shopping.
So if I order a piece of clothing and I use your avatar and I order it 3 sizes too small and it starts to stress at my my belly, will people be able to see my belly button? Is this...
Will he see the stretch?
You'll see the stretch for sure. One is, the system just won't show you something that small because it physically can't fit on you.
You've never seen my belly button.
But then the other thing is, sites can enable social sharing because a lot of times you want your friends to see how you look in an outfit. You want to see their feedback. But you don't have to show it to anyone. That is just for you as you're there shopping. And the best thing is, if you don't like that shirt, you go try on another one. And if you've created your avatar on Perfectly, or even via one of our brand partners, you can use it no matter where you are on the web, as long as that site has Perfectly. That avatar is portable everywhere we are.
Raghav, what's your background? What drew you? You talk about your family experience, but I'm curious what you bring to the table at this business.
I've always been a problem solver. There's nothing in my background that screams retail, but entrepreneurship has just been in my blood. My father has started 9 companies at this point, and been fairly successful at it. And so I caught that early on, and it just bothers me to see waste and inefficiency. My first company was an enterprise software company where we were trying to bring efficiency to public procurement. Good luck with that. We got much further than we expected, but not as far as we wanted to.
Right.
And then I was a consultant for a while, trying to help people solve business problems. And it was really sort of there where I started seeing this, and it was the consultant background that really led to the research that said, okay, let's find out how big of a problem it is before you just suddenly jump up, leave a job. You have to be, it goes back to things that you were saying earlier, you have to be sure there's a problem you're solving, that you can actually do something before you just say, hey, let's go.
Yeah. And what was required to actually kind of build the product? Did you have to hire developers?
We did. So for 3.5 years, we just were heads down coding this, because this has been a problem that's eluded people for decades at this point.
The entire history of e-commerce, really.
Well, even before that, if you look at Hollywood, they got really good at simulating skin, hair, but fabrics were never their strong point. And then we've seen lots of companies come up in this space, and they haven't quite solved the problem because they've kind of taken one of 2 approaches. One is, okay, we know your measurements, and we know the size chart of the brand, so we think you can fit in this garment. And they don't show you how you look. and they don't allow you to size up, size down, and they ignore the fact that we're 3D beings. We're not just points. We're not just shoulders and hips and waists. There's stuff in between. And then the other ones are people who have been like, hey, this is your best fitting garment, and we're going to say their size chart versus another brand size chart. And then so if you're size medium in this, you're going to be a size large in this. And that has also not really worked for the same reasons.
And how are you funded?
We've been bootstrapped. So we are just been plugging away. Luckily, in our past, we've all had successful exits. So we've been able to bootstrap this.
Where do you see the growth coming from?
We have some medium and to large size national players coming on, and we're in trials with 4 of the largest 10 brands globally. And so fingers crossed, some of those will break. And then overall, we're also generating a ton of data that is going to help firms with their inventorying, with their designing, with their sizing, and really thinking about how do they optimize their operations, not just from a return perspective and a sales perspective, but overall, how do they think about how they serve their customers best?
Yeah, I would think that some of the subscription services would also want to be part of this, like Stitch Fix.
Absolutely. They, if you look at Amazon Prime, Wardrobe, they've changed their rules so many times because of this reason, because of returns.
This has been so much fun. I have one quick question, though. If I go on your website, www.perfitly, like perfect fit, PERFITLY.com, can I see a list of brands that you're with?
You can. And also, you know, I would encourage people to go direct to the brands, go to Descendant of Thieves, go to Michael Hands, and try it on yourself.
We look forward to seeing you grow, 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 grow.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. And we are really pleased to be part of the podcast and the radio show and help you guys get this off the ground.
Awesome.
Thanks, Raghav. Perfitly is the company, and you're listening to WOR Radio, 710 on your AM dial, and we'll be back in just a minute with our next pitch.
There's never been a better time to start your own business. The opportunities are infinite and only limited by your imagination and enthusiasm. At Gearhart Law, we believe the most successful companies all have one thing in common. They start with a solid foundation first. Gearhart Law has years of experience protecting entrepreneurs' ideas and brands using patent, trademark, and copyright protection. So if you have a new consumer product, a new software application that you're planning to build or sell, or a brand or company name that you want to protect, contact the experts at www.gearhartlaw.com. Our professionals will create a custom strategy designed to fit your needs and your budget. All of our attorneys are passionate about protection, licensed and qualified to represent you before the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Don't start your project without calling us first. Visit GearhartLaw.com. Together, we can change the world. Visit GearhartLaw.com. This ad has been read by a non-attorney spokesperson.
Now back to Passage to Profit. Once again, Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart.
With our second pitch, Jürgen Benke, and the name of the company is... What is the name of your company?
The Hanger.
The Hanger.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if I pronounced that right or not.
Right.
So.
That's a trademark trick. You know, make up something, right? You know, that was an expensive lesson, by the way, too.
The umlaut is impressive.
We had to German it up a little bit.
And it works in America, too, so that's great. Well, you've got 2 minutes, Jürgen. Tell us about your product and go.
Okay, so first I got to admit that I'm a cycling nut, and I think I have a problem because I used to race professionally and ride every day, but since I've retired, I've been able to cut back. But I still ride 3 to 4 times a week. Waste a lot of time, obviously, and I have 12 bikes. I thought it was an extreme case, but it turns out I wasn't on my own. There's the number of people that ride bikes in America has been tremendously going up. So 44 million riders were in 2007, and now it's actually 66 million riders in 2017. And out of those 66 million riders, 14 million ride twice a week. So that's not just the casual once in a while. Why do people ride? I mean, they ride for the sport, they ride for the social aspects, like going on group rides, and then also, for transportation to go to work and also to go shopping. So we at The Hanger, we help people store their bikes inside their homes and garages so that they can live the cycling lifestyle that they want without sacrificing style and space. But because of all the different facets of cycling, people have more than one bike. They'll have a commuter to go to work. They'll have a mountain bike to go on trail rides, and then they have a road bike to go on group rides. And then also some of these bikes can be quite expensive. They can be up to $10,000. And the biggest concern of owners of high-end bicycles is theft and damage. And those bikes are not going to get stored in community bike rooms and unsafe garages.
It's funny. I did a ride a couple of weeks ago in Hudson Valley, New York, and I was taking the Metro North back to the city, and there was this very outfitted guy, I will say, on the train. It was all these bikes on the train, and his bike was so much nicer than anybody else's bike, and you couldn't even stand near him. He was like pushing people away.
Don't get my bike
like,
dirty.
Do not mess with this bike.
Well, I want to know how can you spend $10,000 on a bicycle? I mean, they all have two wheels and a frame, right? So what makes it special?
It's lightweight, stiffness, carbon fiber, composites. There's so many materials right now. And then there's a lot of brands that you're buying into as far as design goes. There's a lot of manufacturing know-how. I mean, that's high-tech stuff, and depending on where you're getting it from.
So let's talk a little bit about your product and your company. We've got one in front of me. It's metallic. It's red. This one anyway.
Yeah.
And it's a little dude.
This is the Hanger Dan. Basically, this is meant for multiple bike storage. So this is like the only product that actually engages the pedal. So it's a pedal hook. So it's a horizontal bicycle storage that you can overlap 3 bikes on an 8-foot tall wall without taking up a lot of floor space. So both of our products, actually, we have then also the hanger, which is a bike shelf. That's the first patent pending shelf that lets you hang your bike by the seat, and you still have room for your helmet and shoes and glasses. Both of those products we actually launched via Kickstarter, and that's how we kind of got us started. And then sales are direct on our website, and we do a little Amazon too, which, I have split feelings about it a little bit. But it's kind of like a lot of people still don't trust. I think it's getting better as far as branded, like our own site. But it's funny how people prefer sometimes to pay more on Amazon than just go to us and get a better deal, same return policies, everything.
How much were you able to raise on Kickstarter?
We did $68,000 for the hanger, and we did about $27,000 for the Dan.
And was that for equity, or those were advanced sales?
No, you can kind of look at it as pre-orders.
Yeah.
So it was more or less a development phase, and we had a horrible time on the first project because of manufacturing was very, very difficult, and both of our products are made in the U.S., and they're still are made in the U.S., which, as you've seen, one of them is a steel product, and I've been getting clobbered all year. But I don't know if you've heard about those tariffs.
I have a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit, right? So it's definitely not as easy as you think getting anything made, especially in this country. And so some of the stuff actually we have taken over 50% of manufacturing, and I don't know what the path is for us going forward if we're taking over more or if we're trying to find better contract manufacturing. I know the potential is there as far as, we've shipped way over 7,000 units out since 2016. There's a couple other designs that are actually right now already in the pipeline as far as, I learned my lesson because one of our products is rather large. So we have something else coming that is more collapsible, like IKEA style, that'd be in a flatback box. And we do ship to Europe a lot, because there's a big cycling market. It's rather expensive, the shipping, but people do pay it. I would like to be able to, sell to the world, but that seems to be getting more and more difficult these days.
Who's the competition? Are there any kind of large, bike-themed companies that produce a product like this?
There are some companies in Europe that's all they do is bicycle furniture and shelving. There's another there's one more there's a couple out there. But I think it's an interesting. It's kind of hard to put us into what are we? Are we a bicycle component? Are we a home goods? Are we both? What are we doing? So we're kind of looking at I think more into the home space in the future.
Yeah, I just like to say, I don't know if we described it so that you could actually visualize it that well, but it's this cute little guy, and he's bent at the waist, and he's got a little face on him.
He's wearing maybe a cycling jersey.
Yeah, that's the polka dot jersey. It actually comes with the sticker kit. He also has a mustache on the sticker kit.
Okay.
You get little Band-Aids. So we have a lot of our customers that actually buy these, and then they have
Customize them.
They have the kids, help them install their bikes and hang their bikes up. No, it's really fun, and we have them in different colors.
So you do put the Band-Aids on after you have an accident? Is that how it
Right.
works?
No, exactly. I think it was.
What is this retail for?
So it's basically what you're seeing there. It comes with the wheel shelves too, and the hardware and the sticker kit. And we retail it for $49, and that's a 14 gauge steel product. So actually, one of our units, one set is like 6 pounds. So it holds. We actually have a lot of bike shops now. We have a lot of e-bike shops because they've been having a hard time displaying e-bikes that weigh up to 55, 60 pounds.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the cheap bike hangers or whatever you can get in Home Depots, those little things,
They fall apart.
you cannot hang
Yeah.
an e-bike on it. So we have e-bike stores using our product to display their products for sale, and then also sell our product as well.
So these are sold direct from your website.
Yes, and we do a lot of Facebook ads.
Yeah.
So what is your website?
It's thehanger.co. It's DAHANGR.co.
Jürgen, thanks a lot for coming and presenting your project, The Hanger. It sounds like you're doing really well, and I know a lot of listeners out there would love to check out your website. What is that again?
Thehanger.co.
And listeners, don't forget to vote. Go to Passage to Profit page at GearhartLaw.com where you can register your votes, and we'll be back in just a minute with our third and final pitch.
There's never been a better time to start your own business. The opportunities are infinite and only limited by your imagination and enthusiasm. At Gearhart Law, we believe the most successful companies all have one thing in common. They start with a solid foundation first. Gearhart Law has years of experience protecting entrepreneurs' ideas and brands using patent, trademark, and copyright protection. So if you have a new consumer product, a new software application that you're planning to build or sell, or a brand or company name that you want to protect, contact the experts at www.gearhartlaw.com. Our professionals will create a custom strategy designed to fit your needs and your budget. All of our attorneys are passionate about protection, licensed and qualified to represent you before the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Don't start your project without calling us first. Visit GearhartLaw.com. Together, we can change the world. Visit GearhartLaw.com. This ad has been read by a non-attorney spokesperson.
Passage to Profit continues with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart.
3 pitches, and we are finally on our third pitch. This is Omer Isaac. He has an AI assistant. So, Omer, would you like to start your pitch?
So yeah, we built the first holographic AI assistant.
Hey, Omar. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think I can do this better.
Uh-oh.
Oh, really, Alfred? That's Alfred, our assistant.
Hey, Alfred.
Hey, listeners. I'm Alfred, the first holographic AI assistant. Sidekicks Company is a platform that enables you to create visual, proactive, and full of personality AI assistants, like me. They live in our minimal hologram display, so you can enjoy them just like in a sci-fi movie. Our goal is to make AI more friendly and fun by breathing life into all the awesome characters we've grown up with, while helping in solving problems like autism, Alzheimer's, loneliness, and making STEM education more fun. We can't wait to see what you'll build with it.
Oh, that's right, Alfred, exactly.
Listeners should note he's wearing a bow tie.
You're welcome. What do you think, Kim? Am I right, or am I right?
I guess you're right.
I guess you're right.
So, Omar, what's the market for this product?
To be honest with you, we run an incubator for crazy ideas. It's called craziesandco.com. And the idea that we invest in ideas we don't know where we're going with. But then we reach out to people and they tell us. And luckily for this idea, we've been reached out by a lot of people. It helps autistic kids to learn better, Alzheimer's, and education, making it more fun, and also making the personal assistant market more human-friendly, I believe. And I think they're going there. If you want to buy a shoe using Alexa, can you try that, Jim?
Probably not.
Right? How are you going to see, like, what color the shoe is? So you have to have the visual element.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to bring, but we're adding the characters with it. We have a couple of major media companies approaching us to give these characters we grow up with this AI and breathe life into them.
Is the product to market yet?
We're planning for a Kickstarter, as all the crazy ideas.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of momentum, and soon, hopefully, we'll be able to launch it.
How long did it take to develop it?
We started about 8 months ago. We were under the influence after a party, I believe.
The source of many great ideas.
And we were like, why not invent the genie in a bottle? And 8 months later, we are here. We got certified by the major corporations around the world. Many people helping us. We're part of Intel Innovators, FutureWorks Incubator. Any door basically we knocked, it opened. And that's, I believe, the power of crazy ideas.
And can I say what we saw here was a little display case with a little guy on it, very cute little guy. That was Alfred. And he was making hand gestures and trying to act like a real person while he was talking. So he's a hologram, I understand. Can he be big, like out in the middle of the room?
Yes. We are designing many characters for corporations where they can represent them in events and also act like ghosts to scare people, maybe.
Just what we need.
And is the idea that the end user customizes the avatar, builds the avatar him or herself?
Yes, we will allow full customization, also data privacy, so all the data is under your control. We're also allowing you to pick from our marketplace and sell your own creations.
Wow, that's great. What else can Alfred do besides be a hologram? I mean, is it completely integrated with Alexa then, or are there certain functions that he has or doesn't have?
Yes, it's integrated with the whole Amazon atmosphere with Lex. We also can use Watson in it. We have our own AI. So it's basically anything AI can do today could be done by Alfred, but in a friendlier with more personality, I believe.
I see. So you're using those existing AI programs as a platform, and then you're creating a hologram around those to respond to certain commands, certain requests, etc.
Yes, exactly. The idea is that if you think about the future where we're heading with AR, with VR, having an imaginary button on the air and clicking on the air does not look good. Right. So we believe that this is the future of UX and user experience. You're going to have Alfred floating in AR or in VR, and he will ask you in a normal human communication. And this is the first step to go there, hopefully.
So what happens when you touch Alfred? If you put your finger on him? Nothing?
Well, I think you will tickle him, but but you should try. I'm not sure what kind of response.
I guess it depends on where you poke him, I guess. I don't know.
And also depends who is poking him.
Oh. He's that smart, huh?
Well, I tried a couple of times. Let's say that.
So you said that you had input from your crowdfunding group. Are they giving you phrases they want him to say, or like what is that input you're getting?
Well, so that's the beauty of it, and that's where we go all the time for Kickstarter. That is the best way to build the crowd, the people who want to play with technology, want to add on it, and the ideas they can come up with. And the things people we gave to, they built some amazing, unbelievable holograms. Some of them are scary, to be honest. And I was wondering, like, why would you have such a thing as your assistant?
Like
you mean
what?
Like big teeth and fangs? And
How about you, James? Which character will be yours?
Oh, I would want the scary assistant, because then no one will want to schedule meetings with me.
Well, here we go. That's an idea.
Spoken like a true executive.
Yeah.
But coming from your childhood, I mean, do you have a character we want to breathe life in? And
Gosh, Yogi Bear?
Oh, that's
No,
awesome.
that was a good
I
one.
never had that one. Yeah.
Yogi Bear could be fun.
Revealing, I guess, who you pick as your avatar.
Exactly,
Says a lot about you. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what has been your biggest hurdle in developing this technology?
Well, is the idea that we're playing with something does not exist at all. And it's very difficult to find out someone who can help you in that, because we reached out to the biggest corporation in this field, and all of them, they said, we're not there yet. We don't know how we can link the emotion of what you're saying with the emotion of the character. So there's a lot of challenges, but that's what we enjoy at Crazies & Co., to be honest. We love it when we go places where everyone is like us, crazy a little bit.
That's great. Yeah, I kind of got from your introduction about the incubator that you use lack of a direction as sort of a strategic element in your business plan. Is that right?
A feature, not a bug.
So this is what we learned from experience, that sometimes the power of crazy idea, either you raise $1 million or you end up in bad YouTube channels, trying to troll you. And that's what we want to be, is either something really impactful, really helping people, Or on the other side, that is something, and we already admitted that we're crazy, so we're not worried about what you're going to say.
Okay.
Truth in packaging.
That was really fun. So you have actually 2 websites. You have Crazy & Co., and that's your crowdfunding, right?
That's our incubator. If you have a crazy idea, you can go there and apply.
But you can see Alfred at sidekicks.ai.
Exactly.
Right? Thank you, Omar. And we look forward to seeing what you guys dream up in the future. I can hardly wait.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
There's never been a better time to start your own business. The opportunities are infinite and only limited by your imagination and enthusiasm. At Gearhart Law, we believe the most successful companies all have one thing in common. They start with a solid foundation first. Gearhart Law has years of experience protecting entrepreneurs' ideas and brands using patent, trademark, and copyright protection. So if you have a new consumer product, a new software application that you're planning to build or sell, or a brand or company name that you want to protect, contact the experts at www.gearhartlaw.com. Our professionals will create a custom strategy designed to fit your needs and your budget. All of our attorneys are passionate about protection, licensed and qualified to represent you before the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Don't start your project without calling us first. Visit gearhartlaw.com. Together, we can change the world. Visit gearhartlaw.com. This ad has been read by a non-attorney spokesperson.
Now back to Passage to Profit. Once again, Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart.
Well, we've come to the end of our presentations this evening, and they were all great.
Yeah, that makes me want to run out and use their products. I can hardly wait to see what's coming down the pike.
And remember, everyone, to go to the Passage to Profit page at gearhartlaw.com and vote for your favorite project. To summarize, we've had Raghav Sharma from Perfitly, the company that creates a perfect image of clothing right on an avatar of you. Next, we had the most creative bike holder ever, the Hanger, presented by Jürgen Benke. And finally, we had the holographic AI assistant with Omar Isaac. Now, Google Passage to Profit and make your choice. Remember, you can only vote once, and you have until next Sunday at 7 p.m. to vote. This evening's pitch contestants receive a Passage to Profit t-shirt once we get them printed, and the best overall vote getter for the month will receive an Amazon gift card. James, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's fascinating.
So what did you think of the pitches?
I thought they were all really strong. I mean, I think that they represent, approaches to sort of different types of problems, right? From bike storage to artificial intelligence. And that's one of the great things that at Inc. Magazine and Inc.com is getting to see all different forms of creativity that go into the entrepreneurial experience. And so I think you had a really good sample of it today. If I had to judge myself, I think, Perfitly seems the sweet spot of solving an interesting problem with a lot of growth potential. I think Dahanger is also an interesting solution. And the AI thing is super cool. I think there's going to be a real market for it when they're ready.
Yeah. I mean, it still seems like it's a little early stage.
A little early. That's okay.
There's lots of bugs to work out, but once we get there, we'll
all be working for Alfred one day.
Well, it is the future. And I would like to say here, I was really impressed with the pitches. I think that they show human ingenuity at its best. It is just so cool to see all these creative people coming up with things. And I think what Inc. does is helps them gather the courage or whatever it takes to go take that idea and put it in the marketplace. And that's really what we need people to do, because I like to buy stuff.
Well, like Jim said, to be an entrepreneur, you really have to take a leap of faith. And I think, that's what our listeners are doing, or that's what they're thinking about. And I think that somebody once said the things that you regret most in life are the things that you haven't tried. So if you have that entrepreneurial bug, I think you owe it to yourself to give it a shot and see what happens. And you might find out that it's not for you, but you'll learn a lot. You'll learn about the business world, and you'll learn about a whole different side of life. So I think it's really great to have James here with Inc. Magazine, who really speaks to this population of people who are entrepreneurs or thinking about entrepreneurs. Editor-in-Chief of Inc. Magazine, James Ledbetter. Remember to catch him on the Inc. podcast, Inc. Uncensored, downloadable at Inc.com and on iTunes.
Don't forget to join us next week for another excellent speaker and another round of pitches. And you can start thinking about what your pitch is going to be if you're out there listening. So we're going to collect pitches for a month. So we'll have probably 12 of them. And we're going to run the contest, and you can vote on them. And whichever one of those 12 gets the most votes gets a prize.
An Amazon gift card. So this is Richard Gearhart and Elizabeth Gearhart on iHeartRadio, 710 on your AM dial with Passage to Profit.
Thanks to our producer, Noah Fleischman. He kept us on track and kept us talking into the mics the right way. And Kenya Gibson, the media maven who brought us into iHeartRadio in the first place, and the entire iHeartMedia team.
Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next week.